This is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Let me say it one more time. DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event. I like to party with the people. Let me entertain you. Let me be your show, or at least a part of your show. You know, it's all about you. I bend to your demands, to your whims. I become your DJ, an extension of you. Yes, party people. All right, video dance parties and karaoke jams have been my specialty lately. And of course, weddings. I love weddings. Love, 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 love being a part of the big day. And I know that weddings are very special. All right, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I get nervous before every wedding because I want it to go as perfect as you do. Yes. And I know you might have heard that before, but I really do mean it. So, yeah, I want your day to go off without a hitch. There's no second chance to do your wedding. Do you hear me? No second chance. Weddings and marriages are forever. Yeah. I should have a little glint in my eye. Ding! When I say that. All right, party people. This is the What Makes You Smarter podcast. This week's shows. I have one public show this week over at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, 8 p.m. until close. They got the full bar, kitchens open, pool tables. They even have a pool tournament on Friday nights. So get yourself to the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, the place to be. This is the What Makes You Smarter podcast, and I've been doing these live almost daily. So, today on the program, well, now on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, California surpasses New York as state with most COVID cases. California reported Wednesday that its tally of confirmed coronavirus cases reached 409,000, surpassing New York as the state with the most total infections as outbreaks continue to spike mostly in the West and South. U.S. states and territories reported more than 1,100 new coronavirus deaths on Wednesday, the first time since May 29th that the nationwide total reached that high. The Washington Post reported based on its data. Texas reported the most new deaths, 197. Fatalities have been rising since June, which public health officials had warned would happen within weeks of a spike in new cases. Governors in Ohio, Indiana, and Minnesota on Wednesday joined a growing number of states requiring face coverings to reduce the infection risks, with more than 30 states now requiring people to wear masks. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 2, GOP senators remain divided over extending unemployment boost. Senate Republicans continued on Wednesday to hammer out their proposal for the next COVID-19 relief bill, with some pushing an unemployment boost extension. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican Kentucky, recently said the bill would not extend the bonus, but some GOP senators are pushing to reduce it from $600 to $100 per week when the original boost expires at the end of the month. Senator John Barrasso, Republican Wyoming, said Republicans are considering a short-term extension. Republicans are also reportedly considering passing an unemployment extension as a separate measure if parties are unable to agree on broader stimulus bill negotiations. Democrats want to extend the $600 a week benefit through the end of the year and included it in the $3.5 trillion HEROES Act passed by the House in May. This is according to CNBC and NBC News. Number 3, House votes to remove Confederate statues from Capitol. The House voted on Wednesday to remove statues of Confederate figures from the Capitol, quote, it's past time that we end the glorification of men who committed treason against the United States in a concerted effort to keep African Americans in chains, end quote, said bill co-sponsor Representative Barbara Lee, Democrat, California. The bipartisan 305 to 113 vote came after weeks of anti-racism protests across the nation that were sparked by the death of George Floyd in May. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican Kentucky, is considered unlikely to allow a vote on the legislation in the Senate. He said the move was an attempt to, quote, airbrush the Capitol, end quote, and was, quote, clearly a bridge too far, end quote. Currently, each state is allowed to send two statues to the National Statuary Hall, and McConnell favors leaving the selection up to the states. This is according to the New York Times. Number 4, D.C. mayor makes masks mandatory outside even when alone. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, Democrat, announced Wednesday that everyone in the nation's capital must wear masks when outside, even if no one else is near. Quote, you don't know if you're going to be able to maintain social distance, end quote, Bowser said. D.C. police will be able to fine people who aren't following that order, though Bowser said she doesn't expect them to actually issue many fines. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, Republican, unveiled a similar order Wednesday afternoon for Ohioans aged 10 and up. The rule goes into effect Thursday. People with medical exemptions, a disability, or who are communicating with someone with a disability are also exempt from wearing masks. Both Ohio and D.C. have seen daily COVID-19 case counts increase over the past few weeks. This is according to the Washington Post and Cleveland.com. Number 5, Sierra Club confronts founders' racist views. The Sierra Club is publicly acknowledging the legacy of racism left by its founder, the, quote, wilderness prophet, end quote, and, quote, founder of the national parks, end quote, John Muir, M-U-I-R, as Confederate statues are removed around the United States. Quote, it's time to take down some of our own monuments, starting with some truth-telling about the Sierra Club's early history, end quote, Director Michael Brune said Wednesday. Moore, who is credited with the preservation of Yosemite Valley and Sequoia National Forest, once called African Americans lazy, quote, sambos, end quote, and Native Americans he encountered on a legendary walk from the Midwest to the Gulf Coast, quote, dirty, end quote. Critics also say Moore's legacy was tainted by his friendships in the early 1900s, including one with a man who helped establish the American Eugenics Society after Moore's death. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 6, Trump sends federal agents to crack down on crime in more cities. President Trump announced Wednesday that his administration is expanding a crackdown on violent crime, sending, quote, hundreds, end quote, of federal agents to the Democratic-run cities of Chicago and Albuquerque. Attorney General William Barr said the, quote, Operation Legend, end quote, program, which launched recently in Kansas City, Missouri, was different from the use of federal agents, quote, against riots and mob violence, end quote. And that these agents would help local police, quote, solve murders and take down violent gangs, end quote. New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, Democrat, said help with community policing was welcome, but that if it turned into the kind of police crackdown seen in Portland, Oregon, the federal forces, quote, have no business, end quote, in New Mexico. Portland's mayor was among people tear-gassed by federal agents outside a federal courthouse on Wednesday. This is according to Reuters and the Associated Press. Number 7, government orders 100 million doses of Pfizer Bioentech vaccine. Pfizer and Bioentech on Wednesday announced that the federal government had placed a nearly $2 billion order for 100 million doses of their potential COVID-19 vaccine. The U.S. will be able to order up another 500 million doses after the drug receives approval or authorization from the Food and Drug Administration. On Wednesday, Pfizer and Bioentech said that depending on how studies of the vaccine go, they aim to, quote, be ready to seek emergency use authorization or some form of regulatory approval as early as October 2020, end quote. If that goes forward, they'll look forward to manufacture up to 100 million doses globally by the end of the year and, quote, potentially more than 1.3 billion doses by the end of 2021, end quote. Pfizer shares rose by 5% after the announcement, and BioNTech's U.S. listed shares jumped by nearly 14%. This is according to USA Today and CNBC. Number 8, survey. Only 8% back opening schools without restrictions. Only 8% of Americans believe that K through 12 schools should open in the fall without restrictions to prevent coronavirus infections, according to an Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs poll released Wednesday. About 3 in 10 respondents said there should be no teaching of children in classrooms at all, while 46% said major adjustments such as masks and social distancing are necessary to protect children and teachers. Most people said they had similar views on reopening colleges and universities this fall. Democrats were twice as likely as Republicans to support a mix of in-person and virtual learning. And 9 in 10 Democrats said students and staff should be required to wear masks. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 9, Tesla to build new plant in Texas. Tesla announced Wednesday that it had selected the Austin, Texas area as the future home of the electric car maker's biggest assembly plant. The new factory will employ at least 5,000 workers and build Tesla's new Cybertruck pickup. It will also become the company's second production facility for the Model Y and small SUV. The Model Y small SUV. Tesla will receive more than $60 million in tax breaks to build the factory on a 2,100-acre site near Austin. The company has promised to invest $1.1 billion in the facility and pay workers at least $15 an hour plus health insurance and other benefits. Tesla CEO Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket company also has operations in Texas. Tesla shares rose 4% in after-hours trading after the company beat expectations, reporting its 4th straight profitable quarter. This is according to the Associated Press and CNBC. And number 10, Cafeteria in White House complex closed due to coronavirus case. The White House closed a cafeteria and another eatery in the Eisenhower Executive Office building this week after a worker tested positive for the coronavirus. NBC News reported Wednesday, citing 3 Trump administration officials. Contact tracing by the White House medical unit suggested the risk others were exposed was low due to the use of masks, gloves, and plastic shielding. Quote, there is no reason for panic or alarm, end quote, the White House said in an email obtained by NBC that was sent to officials Wednesday night. The Eisenhower Executive Office building is across Executive Avenue from the West Wing and houses senior White House staff, including the Vice President's office, members on the Coronavirus Task Force, and the National Security Council. This is according to NBC News. That's 10 things you need to know today for Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. Thank you so much for listening. This has been What Makes You Smarter. If you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. I hope everybody out there is doing reasonably well. Drop me some comments. Let me know what you're up to. Like, subscribe, all that kind of jazz. Find me everywhere. This What Makes You Smarter podcast also can be found everywhere using this hashtag, What makes you smarter? That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out.